Sick Harrison Price for Friday, May 23rd, 2025, coming to you from the Nation Network studio, built by Arbor Lee here at the historic Wall Center. And this program, a presentation of Bet365. Matt Sakaris alongside Blake Price. Very busy typing today. Lots of typing. Four-time Juno Award winner Mike Rogerson hitting switches, conducting things. Are you done?
I'm done,
writing an essay? Or we write an email to the kids?
I
Are we
was
scolding?
Literally writing my name. That's what I was doing.
Writing your name?
At the end of an email, yeah. That's all I had to do left.
Ah.
Yeah.
Glad you got that done just under the wire.
First name Blake, last name Price.
That's Price.
Yeah. He's Sakaris.
Mm-hmm.
S-E-K-E.
Oh. Does he get it?
R-E-S.
Yes. Yeah. Not bad. Not bad.
Yeah.
Yes, we spelt the Hungarian way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right. So you're heading into a May weekend here. And you're hopeful for some competitive postseason games because we didn't get that last night, not in the least.
It's okay. It's
like I was onto an old movie by the middle of the first period. It was horrible.
If the NHL game's bad, you can.
The basketball game is no better.
Okay, well then go to the PVR and the Canada hockey game that you taped during the day. You go to that. And
right.
You just watch.
We'll get to that abomination in a moment. And with all due respect to Yannick Hansen. And frankly, later in the program, you and Jeff Merrick get on this bent as well. It's great for Danish hockey. Like
what?
Danish hockey? Like, when do we care about Danish hockey?
When did you care about the Worlds?
I mean, honestly, you cared about the number of kids playing hockey in Copenhagen?
Well, you've been on this before. If you're going to open up this can of worms...
Well, I don't want to just yet, but...
Allow me to throw a few wigglers.
Mm-hmm.
You have often said hockey is a great sport, but it's very provincial.
It is
not a global sport.
It's regional. Yep.
So the more we can spread the wings of the sport and get it bigger, the better.
Do we really need Denmark, though?
Well, I see only one choice in the wake of the loss. Mm-hmm. We buy Greenland.
There's some competition there.
That's our one way to get revenge. You're going to beat us in hockey? Fine.
All right.
You got a new bidder. That might only help them. I don't know.
You know who we need to be good at hockey so that one day they host a World Championships, a World Junior, something like that? Australia. Samoa. Fiji.
Right.
Somewhere tropical.
Well, again, 11th
Brazil.
11th province, Turks and Caicos. I don't know why we said goodbye.
I don't know why we haven't said yes to that.
That was right there.
It was right. We had a chance to do something great, and we blew it.
They wanted in.
I mean, why do we have to limit confederation to 10 provinces, 3 territories? We got room for the Turks and Caicos.
Yes.
I mean, it might be a little difficult to defend. May have to increase naval spending.
Defend.
Who's invading the Turks and Caicos? Is that your...
Yeah, exactly. A country that may not exist in like 50 years' time with global warming.
Pirates.
Mm-hmm. Take it for while we can.
I mean, if they don't exist, I don't like Florida's chances.
No, the Keys, certainly.
If you're one of those Canadians with Florida real estate, now's the time to get out.
Mm-hmm. For any number of reasons.
Yes, indeed. There's a big dinner there last night, I heard. One of the attendees came in a full mask. Didn't want to identify himself on his way into that.
Yeah. Went full
big old property in Palm Beach.
Who's the duo?
Daft Punk.
Daft Punk. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
You knew what I was talking about.
I'm gonna guess this one wasn't a French DJ.
Probably not.
By the way, you were telling you're sick of Avicii now. You spent a week in Sweden, and then they play a lot of Avicii at the World Championships.
Is at Avicii Arena. They've renamed the Globen Arena Avicii Arena. That's what it's called.
Is that the tribute to him?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize.
Big sign out front. It's Avicii Arena.
Oh, cool.
And so every single stoppage.
Good documentary on Netflix if you didn't see it.
I'm Tim. Yeah. But yeah, heard a lot of Avicii. A lot. Kind of ruined it for me, to be honest.
You sing any of the hooks?
The first 300 times, and then 300 to 7,000. No, I did not.
No?
No.
Come on, they're so catchy, though.
I know they are.
So wake me up.
Okay. All right.
Bogey Juice poll question today. Watching the NFL or NHL conference finals. Yeah, we're a long way from the NFL conference. NHL conference finals. How far away, speaking of far away, how far away are the Canucks from competing at this level? You can vote pretty close, far, very far galaxies. When I consider last year's team, I would have voted pretty close. This year's team.
Yeah.
Galaxies.
But it always...
And next year's team...
Okay, like the answer to me is very far or galaxies, but I will throw in this caveat. It always feels like that. Mm-hmm. Even if you're...
We hear this every year in the conference final.
And even if you've been defeated in the first round and you're watching, you're like, oh, my team is so far away. Here's the thing. The teams that are still playing right now got there for a reason.
Yeah.
They are clipping on all cylinders.
Especially Florida.
You have great spells of play. We're going to talk about the Whitecaps in a little bit. There's no guarantee the Whitecaps win the Supporter Shield or the Western Conference or win 3 rounds of the playoffs in MLS. This is the spell they're on right now. Mm-hmm. And when you're this far in the NHL playoffs, guess what? You are playing really well. You are a cohesive unit. You are a mess to deal with. And stars get born during NHL playoffs. Guys that you have never regarded, you've never heard of in some cases because they played in a market like Carolina or Florida. And all of a sudden you're like, wow, that guy's really good. Well, that guy's really good right now. And he's going to parlay that into a great contract this summer because it happens to be, I'm speaking ambiguously here, but that sort of stuff happens. Lightning has been caught in a bottle for the most part.
Well, we saw it in 2011, Blake. I thought the San Jose Sharks were a pretty good team. I thought the Canucks were a better team. And then when they got all those power plays in Game 4 down at the Shark Tank and Sammy Salas started unleashing that howitzer and they won the game and they came back here 3-1, I was like, this team is a juggernaut.
And Dan Hamhuis said after the game, remember that Dan Hamhuis quote? Dan Hamhuis was apoplectic after that series because he was like we're better than that. Like he was so angry, probably because it was 5 games, right? Like he probably thought we can at least get 6 or 7 games out of these guys. Like how? Like he was so frustrated because that team was just clipping. Mm-hmm. That Sharks team was very good.
Yeah, it was
a
good.
very good Sharks team.
Mm-hmm.
Go look at the personnel there. But the Canucks were just rolling.
Oh, they were outstanding. Did someone from the Sharks say, we think we're the better team?
Yes, Hamhuis.
No, Hamhuis.
Sorry. Dan Boyle.
Dan Boyle.
Was I saying Hamhuis?
You were saying Hamhuis.
I meant Boyle.
Okay, I was a little confused.
Wrong Boyle. Wrong Dan.
Both Canadian Olympians, right?
Yes. Yeah. No, Dan Boyle was saying
Boyle thought they were
we are the better team. How did that happen?
And no, it's an amazing feeling when you're a fan of an NHL team that's on that kind of run and is making quick work of a quality opponent in the conference final.
Yeah, it's
like stunning. I was convinced the Canucks were going to steamroll Boston. And I was putting together my preview for the paper, and the one thing I noticed was, Bruins were actually better 5-on-5. Probably won't mean much.
Well, even if that were the case, as long as the Canuck power play was continuing on as it was, that still would have been fine.
Exactly.
They had enough power plays to win the series. They just didn't continue on.
Yep. Anyways.
What do you think happens tonight?
Well, I hope Edmonton wins because I'm in it for the drama. I'm in it for the game 6s and game 7s. I have found this in my more recently in my sports watching life. We get to the next round and the next round and the next round. I'm not all in on the game 1s and game 2s as a neutral, and not even the game 3s and the game. I'm really not all in or emotionally invested until we get to an elimination game.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I start focusing a little bit more in, making sure I'm home in time for puck drop or for.
I've learned with the Oilers, they'll zig when you expect to zag, and vice versa.
Sure.
Like they could win 5-0 tonight.
Yep.
Like that would not be blown away.
I would not be surprised by 5-0 either way tonight.
Yeah.
Given
Totally
what we saw in the third period from Edmonton.
Yeah.
So you voted very far or Galaxies?
I voted very far. Not quite Galaxies.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I joked on social media. If they find a second line center somehow, some way, that's a bit of a wormhole from a galaxy away, and they're a lot closer than we thought.
But that's without subtracting from the current group.
Right.
Or that's not trading a top 4 defenseman for a top 2 center.
It doesn't. They could find a way to shoehorn a free agent in, but
yeah. Oh, fair. I mean, if Sam Bennett wants to sign here, or if Matt Duchene wants to sign here,
John Tavares.
Yeah,
what have you?
I
mean, I just don't see it. I was very worried about this a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how? Show me the way they get a real second line center, and it is.
We're going to get into that.
The skinniest of paths.
So my last 2 rounds on the golf course have been 40-plus putts, and you know what that means? That means I'm making a lot of bogeys and even doubles, occasional triple too. Means I need some bogey juice.
Well, here's the other thing I can tell you about bogey juice right now is that next week there's a forecast for highs of 26 to 30.
Giddy up.
On Wednesday and Thursday.
Oh, amazing.
You know what tastes great on a day like that? Like ginger, apple, top shelf vodka with soda over ice.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, give it. So whether it's single serving on the golf course because you lipped out for the 14th time, then you're going to need an Uber out of the golf course. Or you're just sitting on a patio and you want a nice cocktail. Bogeyjuice.com to get your order, whether it's single size or the bottle. Use the code SP15 to get 15% off, and their swag is spectacular. Because everybody loves BJ. Bogey Juice.
Our top story brought to you by Yellow Dog Brewing, Neighborhood Brewing, Foolish Winery. Excuse me? I'm sorry, Denmark? Are you kidding me?
The Great Danes.
Denmark?
Mm-hmm.
Talk about something rotten. Denmark beats Canada, knocks them out of the quarterfinals of the World Hockey Championships.
Yep.
You know, this would be one thing if it was a World Championships that did not precede an Olympic year. You know, the post-Olympic year World Championships, that's usually a ragtag bunch of Canadians, middle 6 forwards in the NHL. Even bottom 6 forwards, bottom pair of guys looking to represent their country. Probably going to be their last opportunity, right, at the senior level. That's a tough team to make best on best. It would be one thing if it was that group. But they had 7 Stanley Cup champions on the ice yesterday, possessing 11 Stanley Cup rings. Denmark had 1 NHL player. 1. Nikolai Ehlers of the Winnipeg Jets. Well, maybe ex of the Winnipeg Jets.
Mikhail Bodker wasn't available.
Canada took 45 minutes to score and then allowed 2 in the final 2:17, including 1 with the Danish goalie out. Denmark outshot them 22-10 in the third period after being outshot 30-11 in the opening 40 minutes. Did Canada just quit playing here? Like, did they all go home in the second intermission?
My guess is they just thought it was enough. Up a goal, they thought, this isn't our best, but we'll be better next game.
Yeah, and stop playing.
They forgot to dot the I and cross the T and get the game across the finish line. 6-on-5, and then they give up 2 goals in 2.5 minutes here.
I know.
What?
And this is how Marc-Andre Fleury's career ends? On the bench watching this?
Yeah.
Canada had 13 first-round draft picks in the lineup and a 14th, Porter Martone, who He will be the 14th next month. There were 5 members of the winning Four Nations team there. Sidney Crosby, Nathan McKinnon, Travis Konechny, Travis Sanheim, Jordan Binnington. Canada has 548,000 registered hockey players. Denmark has 5,800. We have nearly 100 times the registered hockey players as Denmark. And for Sidney Crosby, you'll remember he had not lost an international game until that prelim game against the States in the Four Nations. He's lost 2 of the last 3, Finland and Denmark.
Yeah. I mean, what's shocking to me, like they've been stunned before. Back in 2014, they lost to France.
Should say he hadn't lost an international game since the prelims here in 2010, then the Four Nations, then 2 of the last 3.
2014, Canada lost to France at the World Championships. But it was the first or second game of the tournament. You've got time to remedy that problem. It's a long preliminary round.
You know what? Braden Shen was on that team. Braden Shen lost to France in 2014. He lost to Denmark yesterday.
But again, you lose to France, that's fine. It's game 2 of the tournament. You win a couple of important games.
No, it's not fine. It's never fine.
It doesn't hurt you, is my point. You lose in the quarterfinal, you done. There's no remedying it.
So this has to go down as one of the more embarrassing losses for Canada ever on the men's side of things. Some of you may be old enough to remember the 81 Canada Cup final. They lost 8-1 to the Soviet Union. In 1998, the World Juniors were really on their way to being a big thing. Everybody paid a lot of attention, well, much like today. Canada was so bad in that tournament and then had Kazakhstan in the 7th place game and lost it 6-3.
There was a Royal Commission on Hockey, or there was an
I believe it was after the Kazakhstan.
I remember the Globe and Mail
the
published
Kazakhstan
an op-ed
and,
on
of course, Nagano, right?
Yeah.
We couldn't score against Dominic.
Yeah.
2-0 Canada lost to Switzerland at the 2006 Olympics. Martin Gerber shut them out. Look at that Canadian roster. They couldn't beat Switzerland. And then I loved this from Zack Phillips, who works with us here at the Nation Network. Produces, helps out Jeff Merrick's show. Kyle Dubas was the GM. No wonder they couldn't make it past the first round of the playoffs. Kyle Dubas, wow. Does he ever advance? And then one more international hockey news here, and I first saw this verse from Simon Schemberg, who is the former director of communications for the IIHF, but I see it's out there further now. Russia is not going to participate in the 2026 Olympics in Milano. France will be the replacement country. Canada will be in a group with the Czechs, the French, and the Swiss. Pool A in Milano Cortina. And if Alexander Ovechkin had designs on one more international tour for his home country, well, he's got his friend Putin to blame.
Yep.
And this is the right call. You don't get, I used to firmly believe, and I still believe, in the whole notion of rapprochement through sports and culture with, geopolitical actors that don't get along, because where else are you going to be able to talk to them if you're not talking on the political side, or you have vast differences on the political side? It's a good way of connecting people, and yet it doesn't seem to matter much with Russia. It's a propaganda tool.
Yeah.
It doesn't bring them closer to any kind of good acting, so to hell with them. They can fuck off.
And they're showing no sign of wanting to remedy the problem.
They've got in some cases, they have a enabler now.
Yeah.
So,
and Denmark's in Group C, thankfully, far away from Canada.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, from a pure hockey point of view, you want the best teams and players there. But at the end of the day, it's just games. It's a child's game.
Steve in the chat says single game winner takes all means nothing. Easy to get goalied, except they had the lead with 2 minutes to play. They were winning.
They didn't close out Denmark, everybody.
Yeah.
Let's not make excuses here. That's a terrible loss for any Canadian team.
You're right. If they
Let
lost,
alone one with Crosby and McKinnon. Let alone one with 7 Stanley Cup champions.
if they lost 2-0 or 2-1 where the Danes were ahead or got a
fluky goal.
in the early
and then
in
just
the third.
packed it in, got all sorts
Yeah.
of saves. That's one thing.
That's one thing. That's not how it went.
No, that's not how it went down.
Canada was ready to win that game, and then they were not.
All right.
Did we mention the shots on goal in the third period?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh.
And just tying this back to what we first talked about, this was on my weekend watch list. Yeah. Canada in the semis, likely the final, the World Championships, of course. Not anymore.
No. Opened up your weekend.
I may go and visit those owls.
Sorry, what now?
Owl. Well, you know how I like birds, Blake.
Yeah, we often go visit the Eagles in Squamish.
Yeah, and down Twasson Way as well. There is a family of barred owls, including a baby, at what park is it at again? Douglas Park.
Oh.
It's not very common for these owls to show themselves this routinely.
No.
They do apparently, though. They have now adapted to humankind, and they mostly eat rats.
Oh.
So in a lot of ways,
That's helpful.
they provide a very good civic service.
Yeah.
Yeah, indeed.
We could stand to have a few more of them around.
Yeah. Young owls.
Yeah.
You know what a young owl is called?
And owling?
Nope. Mike, you want to take a shot at this? A young owl. Owlet.
An owlet?
Owlet.
Okay. It's Friday. Can you tell?
Mm-hmm.
Getting a little distracted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Can you see yellow dog?
Well, it might loosen you up a little bit.
Don't mean a living, breathing lab or anything like that either.
No. You don't want any more dependence than you already have.
That's true. Oh, my dependence. I mean, you got 4 kids. I have 2 cats, and we should compare notes.
Okay, 2 mix packs to put on your radar from Yellow Dog here in this early summertime. Perfect for every season, though. The Hive hard iced tea mix pack, lemon, peach, raspberry teas. Yum. And then they've got the Freezy vodka soda mix packs, purple, blue, and white Freezy. Lots of options, all packed into 2 mix packs. Go check it out wherever you get your Yellow Dog.
So there's a report out there from Goat Podcast, and this account was pretty good on the JT Miller stuff, got to say. Hronek is being heavily shopped around before his no move kicks in. Not surprising with Mancini progression and what Wielander brings. Huge trade piece for the Canucks. And yeah, as we discussed yesterday when we were talking about roster defensemen, like should the Canucks trade a roster defenseman, and if so, which one? For the top 2 center, Philip Hronek does not have any kind of trade protection right now. It has gone way under the radar because Elias Pettersson's no move clause on July 1st has sucked up all the NMC oxygen in our discussion. But it is true. Philip Hronek moves to a no move clause starting July 1st for 3 seasons. He then has a 15-team no trade list for the duration of his contract. He re-signed and signed a big money deal at $4.25, but as this cap goes up $7 million and looks to be going up significant jumps in the summers ahead, that is going to look better and better if Hronek can maintain this level. I mean, he is a top pair right shot defenseman. Of that, there is very little dispute. And that is among, if not the scarcest commodity in the National Hockey League. So Philip Hronek at 27 years old at $7.25, locked up through the 31-32 season. That is a very valuable piece on the NHL trade market.
Who are you playing as your top pair right shot defenseman?
Let me get a
okay.
tweet from Van Fanuc we got Hronek guarantees you a top six forward in a trade, whereas you likely have to spend more assets packaged alongside one of the unproven guys. We know they're going to take a big swing. Betting on your young guys in a transition period for the organization isn't the worst idea.
So
we didn't talk enough Hronek yesterday. We talked Marcus Pettersson, Elias Pettersson, Mancini. What do you think?
Because they moved heaven and earth to get Philip Hronek as the missing piece that they needed on a top pairing, a right shot defenseman.
Mm-hmm.
They use him for 2 seasons, and that's it.
Can I just throw a little wrinkle into this?
It is a wrinkle, so you're wrinkling a wrinkle at this point. Yeah.
Well, we'll be one of those dogs called the breed with all the wrinkles. Sharpays. We heard Jim Rutherford say the Miller-Pettersson feud split the room, tore the room apart. Philip Hronek and JT Miller, very close. To the point where Philip Hronek used to go watch JT Miller's kids play sports here in Vancouver.
Mm.
Is it possible that there is residue from what happened last year? And Philip Hronek, who strikes me as a pretty hard man, and not just with his JPAD interactions, is it possible that Philip Hronek is sitting there going, we traded the wrong damn guy, and I ain't over it. We ain't going to win with this one. The wrinkle to the wrinkle.
The wrinkle to the wrinkle. I mean, Hronek is for all his lack of chatting with the media, he is a strong personality, I think, away from microphones and camera.
Mm-hmm. He strikes me as the type of guy that if he does address the group, it's like pin drop stuff.
Yeah,
people pay attention. He's kind of an intimidating, menacing guy.
Yeah. And they spent a fair amount of time away from each other, Hughes and Hronek, that is, in the second half of the season. That
you can make a better hockey case for it than you would have otherwise.
But I still, like, you're in a big game. Who are you playing
Well, that's it. Like, as much as we've liked Tyler Myers for the most part over the last 2 years.
We've liked him because he's been slotted
right, at 35 years old, his slot top pair minutes, not so much.
Nope.
Don't get me wrong, really love the progress. We talked about it yesterday that Victor Mancini has made. Probably second pair upside in the NHL at best.
And slot him right, structure for success, all that
stuff. And that's an enormous ask of Tom Wielander to drop in and play those sorts of minutes. And then if you say, okay, we'll make the deal and then just get on the free agent market for a right shot D, well, the pickings there might be slimmer than the pickings for a second line center. Aaron Ekblad, who when healthy is fantastic. Vancouver's Dante Fabro, who had a wonderful renaissance this year after finally getting a trade from the Nashville Predators and getting to Columbus. I mean, then you're into the Cody Cece's, Nate Schmidt's, Tony DeAngelis. Unless you're going super old, like a Brent Burton.
Yeah. So here would be the one caveat there then. If you're going to, I'll allow myself for the sake of the exercise to go down that road.
Oh, thank you for that.
I think it's ridiculous, but
you think it's ridiculous?
Yes, trading Philip Hronek, yeah.
Okay, so hold on a second. The Daily Face-Off, Mike, can we bring that up? Daily Face-Off. No, not that one. The Daily Face-Off. Did I not send? I may not have sent it to you. You quote tweeted a Daily Face-Off tweet talking about how there's going to be a lot of general managers aggressively pursuing top two centers this offseason. And you said you're hitting the panic button because of that.
Oh, I've been hitting the panic button for weeks. There's not an easy path to getting a center.
Right. So does that not compute you're going to have to go above and beyond to get that piece? Like, is your panic button bigger on the second line center or on the top four right shot defensemen?
They are right alongside each other in terms of the most important pieces of your team. So to drain that particular location, and that's why I said to yesterday's poll question, I would trade Marcus Pettersson, But give me a break. They just acquired him for a litany of reasons in their own minds. They are not trading him away. So,
well, things should be fluid, though.
Hey, in with any other group, yes, they seem to love their guys, though. But here's my suggestion. Again, we don't normally suggest you go after the octogenarians of the National Hockey League. But if you sign Brent Burns for like 1 year.
Yeah.
1 year. It probably wouldn't be that expensive on the cap. And, he's a guy.
Does Hronek get you like a Horvat or a Rossi straight up?
Oh, yeah.
I think so, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. I would think so. And the Minnesota Blue Line's kind of interesting. They're names that you know, but outside of Brodin,
Spurgeon.
Yeah, but
Faber
Spurgeon
now has really stepped up. He's become a very good player.
But Spurgeon, he's not a Norris Trophy winner.
Yeah.
He's a nice player.
No, he's a very nice player. He's getting older now. He has done to play in the NHL and play that position as long as he has at that size has been extraordinary. Yes, he is 35 years old, Blake.
Yeah.
5'9", $166.
Yeah.
And you're playing defense in the NHL. We've talked a lot about Bill Guerin in the Minnesota Wild and Marco Rossi. And Dreger was quite instructive earlier this week when he talked about Guerin being a gunslinger. So, is Bill Guerin really going to go forward with a small Marco Rossi, a small Jared Spurgeon? And then add to that, Blake, remember all the picks he gave up for David Juracek? Like, he's not afraid. Is that a lower key Elias Pettersson landing spot that we haven't talked about? Or there could be an Elias Rossi. Something principled on Elias Rossi, or something principled on Philip Hronek.
I won't say no to that. It's just, you're right back where you started. You still need another center then if it's just a swap of Pettersson and Rossi.
Yes, of
right?
course, but maybe he would give you more than Rossi for Pettersson.
Well, he's not giving you a second center, is he?
No.
As I'm saying, you need another center in that. So you're right back where you started.
Well, but
it's just to turn the page.
Yeah, most every scenario you put together for the Canucks gets you into this, unless it's picks and prospects, right? That's the only way you're substantially adding to the group via trade without having to subtract. And even then, you still have designs on Lekramaki for sure, and maybe Willander as well playing next year.
But if you go Garland, your 15th pick, and something else, then you're...
No, but you move Garland. He's looking for 3 forwards to begin with. You move Garland out.
You worry about wingers when you need to worry about wingers.
Okay.
Center, top 2 defensemen, goaltender. They've got the goalies. They've got the 2 defensemen right now. Screw the wingers. Honestly.
How does a 10,000-seat arena in Surrey Center strike you?
Odd is what it strikes me as.
Mayor Brenda Locke, in the story here from the Daily Hive, and Kenneth Chan, they floated this last February and brought it back up in the state of the city. Do you know Surrey's big? They have a state of the city. This arena would anchor a new complex of office, retail, dining, entertainment, and hospitality offerings, including hotel and conference center use. Initial construction would begin in approximately 2 years, which means it is a long way away. Surrey thinks it can get conference business there, huh? Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
You need hotels,
that's
a bunch of nice hotels.
Yeah. If you're competing with a pretty attractive conference.
And
location here in downtown Vancouver with the new conference center.
And proximity to the airport. Downtown's not great from the airport, but it's probably better than Wally. Wally to the airport's not a great commute either.
The other thing, Blake, is you're on the ocean looking at the mountains.
Yeah.
If you're planning, and I understand there are conferences of all size and conferences of certain budgets and all that. I'm not disputing that Surrey can attract conference business. I'm just wondering, I guess like you, Strange, I'm not necessarily sure I see the vision.
Well, you also need a full-time tenant, don't you? Who's the full-time tenant?
Well, that is the big one. So are you able to attract the Abbotsford Canucks to Surrey?
That would be the home run for them and probably for the Canucks, too.
And you would probably call them the Surrey Canucks, right? You'd want that branding for sure. Could you get the Giants there? Do the Giants make more sense in Surrey Center or at the Langley Events Center? You tell me.
I mean, from a fan perspective, that's too big a building.
People there,
but that's just too big a building.
Well, I mean, they used to play at the Coliseum. You could,
I know, but that was when they were
tarp
still new.
Some off or curtains.
I don't know that there's an avenue, given how much hockey is in this Lower Mainland Valley region now, where the Giants regularly can get 8,000 people.
Really?
Yeah. I don't see it.
I think they would need a Macklin or a Connor level.
Right, but you know how often those come around.
No, of course not.
So
I would like to think a good team on a playoff run could do that for the Giants, but Sunday afternoon in November, maybe not.
No. I think they're where they should be.
By the way, the Giants are searching for a GM, head coach.
Everything. Yeah. Yeah. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Very.
So Carolina is down 2-0 in this Eastern Conference final. They've lost 14 straight Eastern Conference final games. Question for you.
Mm.
And some of this goes back to 2009, so before any of the players were there and before head coach Rod Brindamore of Campbell River was there.
But there's a Toronto Maple Leaf coming to Jesus here.
There's two series that are more recent that do include some of these players, and now an 0-2 hole going to Florida for Game 3. Have we hit the ceiling on Rod Brindamore hockey? Shoot from everywhere?
Well, they couldn't shoot.
They didn't shoot at all in the first period. Yeah. No, but is that, we've talked about this a lot, Blake, you and me, and in multiple sports too, including soccer and other. But if you don't have great offensive skill and you play a counter-attacking system, if you will, and Brindamore, there's a lot of dump and chase, and then as soon as you get the puck, shoot it on goal, and let's try for rebounds and tip-ins and all of this stuff. It's effectively the Tocchet system, although he wants them shooting as soon as they regain possession, whereas Tocchet said again this week, he wants them holding on to the puck and creating a better scoring chance, a higher danger scoring chance.
Yeah.
Are we seeing the ceiling of what this brand of hockey, what this style of hockey is capable of achieving in the National Hockey League these days?
Yeah, potentially. I think
that would be my big question if I'm Ton Dundon, the owner there, and I know and Tulsky, the GM, and I know they all love Brindamore, and who wouldn't love to have a Rod Brindamore in their organization? He's become a face of that franchise down there.
We have seen it in this sport and in others. What might work in the regular season doesn't necessarily work in the playoffs. And the other thing that you have in the playoffs that you don't have in the regular season is a constant review by the same team looking at how you play.
Exactly. And with better personnel, right? Like you get to the conference final.
You're playing good teams.
You're playing a good team with really good personnel.
Yeah. And when they can drill down, knowing it's only you each and every night that they have to deal with, they can pick apart your system pretty good. It has to be pretty system-proof, if you will.
That goaltender is ready to stop a puck the second a Hurricane gets the puck on his stick in the offensive zone. Mm-hmm. Those defensemen know that puck is coming on goal. Don't get in the way of the goaltender. Don't blind him. Don't get a stick down for a deflection. Let him handle the shot.
And that works.
Those defensemen know these guys are coming on the forecheck. We got to move it quickly.
And that works when the opposition faced the Buffalo Sabres 2 nights previous, and they were playing a completely different style of game, and they've sort of now forgotten a little bit how to play you. Doesn't happen in the playoffs. So
then there's the West.
Well, first of all, should we shop the Carolina Hurricanes at all? Is there anything to buy if you peruse the aisleways of the Carolina Hurricanes?
Well, I
the healthy scratch, Jesperi Kotkaniemi, are you still a believer there?
Well, I was never really a believer
No?
beyond just him being a third-line NHL center, and I'm not even sure he's that.
He may not be that.
No, the only thing I would say is if Carolina goes down here, and particularly if they go down in a sweep, I do wonder, with the new general manager there, Eric Tulsky, who is more analytics-based, I'm wondering if you have a come-to-Jesus meeting with your coach and with your owner and say, okay, Carolina's made big trades before and, of course, tried to make a Mikko Rantanen acquisition, whether they have to sit down and decide, okay, we need more here, and whether that brings them back on Elias Pettersson.
Right. But again, so then what are you asking for in return? When they just want to add to their group, they love their group. They love their
I
guys.
think they understand that Elias Pettersson's going to cost them from their group.
Yeah. And it has to be a center because they can't go down another center.
Well, they're not trading Aho, right? So
Nope.
He's got a no-move clause.
Is Stankoven part of that group, though?
Stankoven could very well be a part of that group. He just got there. I know they like the way he fits their system because he's a high-volume shooter as well, and he's a young player on a good contract, so I think they have hopes there. He's the centerpiece of the Rantanen return as well.
Mm-hmm.
Jarvis is interesting. 23, 7.4, locked up long-term.
And what is Seth
Has
Jarvis?
played center, but
Yeah.
Svechnikov has no trade protection, although, again, you probably don't want to peel your best goal scorer.
Pure winger, too.
Pure winger, yeah, so not ideal for the Vancouver Canucks. Then they have those prospect defensemen, Morrow and Nikishin. I mean, that's not the ideal return for the Canucks, but could I see them putting those guys in play? Bradley Nadeau, who had an awesome AHL season, a former BCHLer here with Penticton, first-round pick. He'd be interesting. But again, that's not a ready-made player for
And
the
it's
Vancouver.
not a center.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, no, if Carolina's gone here in short order, and the other thing is, Tulsky's now got both hands on the wheel into his, beyond his first season. I would think that his impression, building a team in his image and not necessarily with what Don Waddell left him, would be the move here going forward. Western Conference Final. How about this stat? In 6 playoff games, Stuart Skinner does not have a single game with the save percentage between .835 and .999. He's got 2 shutouts, and he's got 4 lambastings. That's how Stuart Skinner rolls.
It is. And you can feel that in your gut. You hear that stat, and you're like, yeah, that tracks.
That computes.
That feels like what I believe. Yes. Yeah.
What do you think Knobloch would give for just a .910 save percentage tonight, Stuart Skinner?
Hey, give us a chance to win.
Right.
Don't save the day.
Exactly.
Don't ruin the day.
No.
Give us a chance to win.
Yeah. Give up 2 in 24. Like, have a regular NHL goalie game.
But the other option is you go back to Pickard.
Mm-hmm. And, of course, a huge night here for the Abbotsford Canucks. Well, not here, in Loveland, Colorado.
Yeah.
But in the studio for Jeff Patterson and Dave Hall in Rinkwide, Vancouver, post-game Game 4, Abbey Canucks, Colorado Eagles, 3rd round AHL Calder Cup Series. And, of course, the Canucks can advance here with a victory. They lead this best of 5 2-1. And how about this from Dave Hall? In their last 13 road games, the baby Canucks 12-0-1. That goes back to February 28th.
Really?
Yeah, well, they had the 13-game winning streak, right?
Yeah.
And it got snapped, but it got snapped at home, and they had all those wins in the bank. So They've been fantastic as road warriors, and they're going to have to win one more game here in Colorado after winning Game 3. They get it tonight. They are off to the conference final, where they'll either play the Stars or Predators affiliates.
And best of 7 to that point, so there's the potential for even more hockey out in Abbotsford.
And then some professional women's hockey league news here. You may know, the Vancouver expansion franchise is prepping. There's an expansion draft to come here after the final. J-Pat was in here earlier going, there's an expansion draft, but shouldn't they have a GM? They have a GM now. Kara Gardner-Morey, the new general manager of the Vancouver franchise, still unnamed Vancouver franchise.
Mm-hmm.
She has been the head coach at Princeton University.
Head and assistant. Been there for 14 years. Half as an assistant, half as the head.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't have full administration. I mean, you are effectively administrator as a head coach of a college program. So
yeah, there's a lot of work there.
Talent acquisition is your plate. So doesn't sound as fish out of water as it might.
Yeah. Heck, the NCAA men's teams, the head coaches basically live in British Columbia and scout the BCHL. That's where they get their players.
Yeah.
Apparently
she's tough.
Yes.
She's been tough before. Now,
married a football player, married a former Steeler.
Yeah, she is, she looks like she belongs on the gridiron at times. She's not exactly not in playing shape anymore. She's a former player. Mm-hmm. But I'm curious now to see, like what does a fiery coach look like?
She's got Gaelus guns.
Yes, she does.
We're going to bring yesterday's program back. Yeah, anyways, congratulations to her. Looking forward with what Vancouver can do in its expansion year, because what I've read online here about it sounds like there's going to be really good players available here. Like it sounds like this is closer to a Vegas Golden Knights expansion draft than it is a San Jose Sharks Ottawa Senators expansion draft.
That makes 1,000% of sense, because the PWHL does not want horrendous teams.
No, can't have that. Cannot have that.
You absolutely need this team to not be Vegas good, but be watchable.
Competitive balance in an 8-team league. Absolutely. You're going to need it. So looking forward to those machinations as the spring and summer go along. Let's get to today's menu. It is brought to you by Greta. Greta, a fantastic spot to watch all of the games, and an even better spot to be Saturday. It is Greta's 3rd birthday. Happy birthday, Greta. Come celebrate 3 years of Greta with $3 drinks from 8 to 10 p.m. There are giveaways, there are surprises, and a chance. Be in the room. Got to be in the room. Chance at 1 in 10. Giving away 10 Greta experiences.
Wow.
This Saturday, 50 West Cordova, Greta. Let the games begin. Jeff Merrick is going to join us. And then we were devastated to see that Noah Strang was leaving the Daily Hive and Canucks coverage. Noah has been such a go-to account for us, so very thorough in his coverage of the Canucks over the last couple of years. He saw the highs and lows of the Vancouver Canucks in the 2 seasons he did.
He covered the Canucks for 1,000 years. That's what his body clock timed it as.
So Noah's going to join us on the program here as well, and later in the show we'll talk Vancouver Whitecaps, who are into Utah tomorrow for a big one against Real Salt Lake, and then heading into a massive week with a first place showdown. We'll see how this weekend shakes out, but right now it's a number 1 versus number 2 against Minnesota next week, and then of course the big CONCACAF Champions final a week from Sunday at Cruz Azul, Mexico City. So all that is coming up.
RSL Stadium is in what town? Not officially in Salt Lake. Where is it? It's a great name, given the surroundings.
Well, they didn't they hang out there during COVID at one point?
It was their one of their part-time homes.
Yeah, it's escaping me right. It's not Provo, is it?
No, Sandy,
right?
Sandy, Utah, and it's very sandy there in the summertime. Snowy in the winter.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I nailed my bet 365. How about you?
What did I have?
Oh, roles reversed. SGA plus 35. He got 38. Bing.
Oh, I had Florida. Thank you very much. Bows.
Multi-bows.
So I'm 2 in a row here.
Yeah.
I'm going very off the board today.
Oh, okay. F1?
Indeed. Very good. I've been talking about it all morning. I've been bothering these guys with highlights from the Monaco. Well, the Monaco Grand Prix is the signature race in Formula One. And a lot of the really snobby Race fans will tell you Formula One has outgrown this track. It is useless. You cannot pass on track during Sunday's Grand Prix. The cars are too wide now. The circuit is too narrow because it is literally through the Straits of Monte Carlo. But here's the thing. This race oftentimes comes down to qualifying. Who puts in the best qualifying lap to get ahead on the grid. Ferrari won it last year with Charles Leclerc. This is a track that Ferrari can compete on because it doesn't have the big, long straights. And look, he hasn't been most successful in his illustrious career at Monaco, but Lewis Hamilton has a flair for the dramatic. We saw that last year when he won the British Grand Prix out of nowhere to the delight of 140,000 Brits on circuit. I wonder, because Lewis looked pretty good in coming back last week. Ferrari made some progress last week. I wonder if Lewis has one more surprise, one more final bow in his career at a big race, at a signature track. Plus, he's plus 1,600, so 16 to 1 prior to qualifying. Give me the GOAT, Lewis Hamilton.
Wow. Okay. I want a reason to watch the Stars and Oilers, and I'm going to do that.
Why don't you go like 3 or 4 points for Draisaitl? Really blow it out, Blake.
Okay.
Because that third period, like they gave up a lot of goals, but they scored some goals early. Like this could be fun. Like Carolina and Florida, no fun. This could be fun.
No, I'm going to cheer against the Oilers. Oh. But I'll take your advice on the go big or go home. Mikko Rantanen. If you want to be more conservative than me, I'll give you the line. It's plus 180 for just 2 points for Rantanen. That seems pretty generous.
I need more than that. I want to be over 200. What's 3 points?
So 3 points?
Yeah.
Very tantalizing.
Plus 3?
Plus 600.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And he's
Go
been
there, Blake.
when
Go
he's
there.
yeah, so that's what I'm going to.
Okay.
Because when he has had big nights, he's had big nights. So 3 points. Done.
Well, he's had that in goals in the third period.
Yeah.
A couple of times during these playoffs. Want to get in on the action for the Stanley Cup playoffs at Bet365? They got you. Game props, player props, totals, money line. You bet futures, conference champions, Stanley Cup winners, much, much more. Whatever your bet, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app, get in on the game. An official partner of the Stanley Cup playoffs must be 19 or older. Oh, Merrick. Jeff Merrick is coming. It's the Harrison Price from the Historic Wall Center.
And it looks like a decent weekend ahead. Maybe time to go for a drive. Maybe time to go for a test drive. Stop by your local Pacific Toyota dealers and see the latest entry into the historic Toyota electric lineup. We're talking about the BZ4X. Fabulous vehicle. Right now, it comes in an all-wheel drive edition. It's perfect for BC. It fits in parking spots downtown and can take you to Whistler in the middle of the winter, lickety-split. The 2025s, you can finance at 0.99% APR for 36 months. You can get a $5,000 incentive, and you can test drive one right now at your local Pacific Toyota dealers. ShopToyota.ca.
Jeff Merrick is the host of The Sheet daily on the Nation Network.
Gentlemen, welcome back.
He joins us on Fridays.
Thank you.
Jeff, how are you?
I am well. Exciting time. Big upsets at the World Championships. Drama between Carolina and Florida. Injuries. And we'll see if the Oilers can bounce back tonight against the juggernaut third period Dallas Stars. Job availabilities, rumors, all kinds.
Did you say drama between the Hurricanes and the Panthers? I see no drama. I see a wagon.
Well, I'll tell you. Well, there's a wagon, but I'll tell you, if you have a look at how Florida behaved One, after Gostis Bear did his best impression of Daniel Alfredson on Scott Niedermayer, 2006 in Game 1, and then if you saw how they reacted after Aho just leveled Sam Reinhart on Thursday night, which I don't consider a bad hit. I know the hue and cry, but it's too low. It's like, that's not a low hit. That's not a low hit at all. It's a hit that can injure for sure, and it doesn't look good for Sam Reinhart as they play amateur doctor here thousands of miles away. But everywhere, the thing I love about the Florida Panthers is everywhere they go, it's drama. They are just one of those teams that it doesn't matter who they're playing or what the scenario is, there is going to be drama because that's just the nature of how this roster has been constructed.
Honestly, I'd be more entertained if they just lined up at the blue line and bare-knuckled fought at this point. Because the hockey is oof. And did you say exciting times, Merrick? I thought you were Canadian. Well, it's I think the World Championships. We just lost
exciting.
In Denmark. Come on.
I know. And listen,
I'm ashamed. I'm embarrassed. I'm considering my citizenship options. Like 51st state has never sounded better to me, actually.
What number were you wearing? You weren't out there. This is McKinnon and Crosby and Binnington, and this has got to be the tap-in and the audition for the Olympics. Listen, Canada at the World Juniors lost to Latvia. I was there ringside watching the whole thing, stunned like everybody else.
Yeah.
So what's your take on how that happened? Is it just Canada? You just can't rise up against Denmark because it's only Denmark and you get caught with your pants down a little bit?
There's always been that internationally, hasn't there, Blake? I mean, you know it better than I do. I mean, you covered a lot more and you're there for some of these. Like, you know what it's like. Sometimes Canada, and I can't speak to all these players. I don't know what's between, McKinnon and Crosby and everyone's ears on this one, or Jordan Binnington for that matter. But it has happened before. Oh, it's Denmark. Sure, Nick Ehlers has come racing back from Winnipeg, but still, it's Denmark. I got to hand it to them, though. Like, it's a great shot. If Canada's going to go out against somebody, I want it to mean something for another country at the World Championships, which kind of the World Championships. Canada is a country that looks at the World Championships and still says our best players aren't there. They're still playing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's kind of a harm-free loss, but it's great for Denmark. Like, it is fantastic for that program to say we knocked off Canada. In the round robin,
in the group play, that's one thing. A quarterfinal game where it's win or go home, I'm still disappointed.
No. With this wasn't a typical Canadian World Championship team. Like, fellas, if this is the ragtag group,
Mangiapane.
Exactly. There were 7 Stanley Cup champions and 11 Stanley Cup rings out there on the ice. There were 13 first-round draft picks out there on the ice. There were 4 Four Nations players.
Number 1 draft picks out there.
On the ice. We have 550,000 registered hockey players. That's nearly 100 times what Denmark has. And honestly, the only thing preventing this from being higher than the bronze medal for most embarrassing Canadian international losses for me is the fact it is a World Championships and not a best on best. The only 2 I have to put ahead are the loss to Kazakhstan 6-3 at the 98 World Juniors to finish 8th. Do you remember 8th?
That was a bad one.
And then poor Mike Liut at the 81 Canada Cup final where the Soviets ventilated him 8-1.
So I remember talking to Mike a few years ago on the old 32 pod, and it still haunts him to this day. Like, hearing him talk about it, because he went on to have a wonderful career in the NHL. To me, still one of the best goaltenders all throughout the 80s. At a wonderful
successful agency,
very successful agency, and probably somewhere along the way, I always wondered whether he was going to become the executive director of the NHL Players Association. Like, he was that well thought of within the Players Association, but that one still haunts him. Like that one he's going to carry with him for a long time. I think you're missing the big one, though. I think you're missing the ultimate big one. The one that changed the game forever. 1972 Game 1 at the Montreal Forum. Now, for me, that was the birth of international hockey. That was that
team turned out to be pretty good, right? Like, we didn't know anything about them, but they turned out to be
It turned out okay, but again, like this is, and I count myself as one of them. I'm an arrogant Canadian hockey fan too. I get it. We focus on game 8. You know what they focus on in Russia? Game 1.
Yeah.
Game 1 was the most important because that was the one where it was like, whoa. I mean, everybody, every single newspaper, Canada's winning. Canada will not lose a period, let alone is Canada gonna lose a game. That was the ultimate shocker. I mean, anyone who's ever written about it, spoken about it, everybody on that team, Espo and Henderson scored 2-0. Here we go. This is going to be a laugher. And then Harlamov scored. And then all of a sudden, everything changes and the Soviets start to pour it on. And everything in hockey changed after game 1 to the point where they begged Bobby Orr to join the team on one leg.
Same rule then as this year, though. Canada is the best team. The only thing that's going to bring down Canada is Canada and the approach that the Canadian team might have. We know that they work hard. We know they're the most skilled. But if they aren't in the right headspace on a given day, they can be had.
You know what's interesting about it, too? One quick point. Crosby's Pittsburgh Penguins. Even when they were winning Stanley Cups, to me, they were a fascinating team because as highly skilled as they were, if they took their foot off the gas even slightly, like the whole thing would fall apart. It was like bicycle theory. Keep cycling and you're fine. Slow down and you'll fall off. Like that was the Pittsburgh Penguins. As great as they were, and players are going to the Hall of Fame. Coaches are going to the Hall of Fame. Like reputation is intact for a lot of these people. They were that team that was so skilled. But if they just eased off the gas a little bit, the whole thing crumbled. And we saw it time and time. It was one of the more fascinating teams I've ever seen in the NHL. Maybe that was part of this year. I don't know.
The other one, and it was prelims, and so it was a knockout. It doesn't get as much run, but we lost 2-0 to Switzerland at the Torino Olympics.
Yeah.
And if you look at that team, Rob Blake, Jerome McGinley, Marty St. Louis, Marty Brodeur, Marty Turco, Brad Richards, Vincent LeCavalier, Pronger, Sakic, Nash, Thornton, and we lost to Paul DiPietro and Martin Gerber that night in Torino. And if it was a knockout one, that one would have absolutely set off the Royal Commission.
Although, small aside, what that did for Switzerland. Switzerland is a legit hockey nation now, capable of winning a medal at any level. I'm not winning at all. I don't think in a best-on-best they're going to win gold. But would you, in a best-on-best tournament, if you told me that Switzerland won bronze in that tournament, I would not be surprised.
Yep, absolutely. The two countries that we've seen emerge in the last however many years are Switzerland and Germany. Brian Burke, when he ran the Maple Leafs, had an affiliation with a couple of German teams as well, and he would always make the point that this is going to be a rising nation. They have a strong athletic cultural base to everybody in Germany as well. They're well financed, and once they really catch on with hockey and they do something about their import rules, they are going to be a powerhouse. Berkey was on that one years and years before the rise of the Dreisaitl's of the world, for sure.
Yeah. Let's move on to the NHL and the Vancouver Canucks and some potential assistance now. Everyone seems to think Luke Richardson is going to wind up in Philadelphia with Tocchet. Is that your understanding, or do you think
I've heard same. I've heard same.
Okay. What do you know about Bob Boughner?
I like Bob Boughner a lot. I think, I got to know him I shouldn't say very well. I got to know him pretty well with the Windsor Spitfires and their run in 2017 to the Memorial Cup. Him and Warren Reichel running shotgun with each other on that powerhouse team coached by Rocky Thompson to the Memorial Cup final and then an ultimate victory. We all know what he was like on the ice. I think that he's been in a couple of tough situations and things that haven't always gone well for him. He's never really been on a team that had enough talent that he could distinguish himself as a coach in the NHL, but he's someone that players really like. And it's not just, at the junior level where you love, all your coaches, but he's someone that players have always, in my experience, really enjoyed playing for and being around. So, and listen, as he played, he was as tough as they came. Like Bob Boughner was, take no prisoners kind of guy. But I've always liked him, and players seem to feel the same way about him. Like very few people come away from either a conversation or a relationship with Bob Boughner and don't feel good about themselves. He's that guy. He's that guy.
Did you see Bruce Hamilton basically fell on the sword, took all the blame for Adam Foote's coaching tenure in Kelowna this week?
No surprise. Good on Bruce. Like good on Bruce Hamilton for doing that. He's listen, that's one of the most, as you guys know, one of the most powerful owners, not just in the Western Hockey League, but in the entire CHL. And I think we're all very curious to see what happens at next year's edition of the Memorial Cup and what type of team Bruce Hamilton can put together. Longtime hockey guy, as a player, as an owner here as well. He did the right thing. He absolutely did the right.
How much truth is it? Do you believe?
I don't know the behind the scenes on it.
I don't know either.
I'm not as close to the Western Hockey League dynamics as I am with like the Ontario League or in certain parts of the Quebec League as well. But I would be fraudulent if I said I knew exactly what went on there in Kelowna with Adam Foote.
I thought he explained it pretty well. He did. He was pretty thorough, comprehensive.
We brought in the wrong guys
in terms of explaining everything that went wrong, and teach Ginla on that Kelowna team for next year potentially. We'll see.
Yep.
What else was I going to ask?
You know what? By the way, speaking of assistant coaches, when we're watching Florida, like there's a number of people that I'm really curious about here. Florida Panthers may win the Stanley Cup again. They're just motoring through Carolina right now. They motored through Tampa, and they had their scare against the Maple Leafs, but then when they put their foot down, there was nothing the Maple Leafs could do against them. It's only going to be a matter of time before other teams say, it's time we start stealing people from Florida. And I'm not necessarily just talking about players that will escape as free agents. I really wonder about Sylvain Lefebvre. I was having a conversation with Pierre Maguire about him earlier this week on the sheet. And when you look at whether it's Brandon Montour or now Nico Mikkola, or how well Seth Jones has been able to adapt into this high-end blue line where all of a sudden, like Seth Jones, every night he's the best player on the ice, guys. Right? And I know part of it is he rejuvenated, not playing with a Hawks team that's out of the playoffs by mid-December. But, Sylvain Lefebvre's fingerprints are all over this blue line, which is the envy of the NHL. And you just wonder, like, at some point, someone is going to come for him. Someone's going to come for Paul Krapelka, the assistant manager with Bill Zito in Florida. There's already speculation about Rick Dudley, working in Buffalo alongside Kevin Adams as an advisor or a consultant. Like, at some point, the Florida Panthers, if they can do this again, even if they don't, people are going to say, this is really successful. We need to get someone from there in here to replicate or try to replicate the model that Florida's using. How do we do that? Let's get some of their personality.
Well, we've already seen that with
Lefebvre's fascinating.
I think you're right.
We've already seen that with the other Florida team, as Tampa Bay has been pilfered over the years, and it's happened again today with Matthew Darche named the GM of the Islanders. What do you know of Darche, and what do you think his plans are going to be? Because he's going to get a long runway there, you'd think. Is there going to be pressure for him to win next year, or is he going to be able to sell off pieces like Horvat and Barzal and sort of put his own fingerprints on this?
Well, one of the interesting things about the Tampa Bay Lightning, and again, you can't completely, duplicate the model. I mean, go get Kucherov, go get Hedman. Like it's not that simple. But the interesting thing to me about the Tampa Bay Lightning has always been, it's not like they're doing this with a bunch of first-round picks. Like, the Tampa Bay Lightning have been really, really creative. Sure, Vasilevsky's a first-round pick, and Hedman's second overall, and Steven Stamkos was first overall. But if you have a look up and down that lineup, it's not like a murderer's row of first rounders here, right? And especially with that forward group, Anthony Cirelli is not a first round pick. Braden Point is not a first round pick. They've done a really good job using waivers. They've done a really, really smart job with trading. They're not, like, one of the things that I've admired about Tampa is they're not too arrogant to admit when they made a mistake. And case in point is the return of Ryan McDonough. Like, I'll still make the point that one of the reasons why Tampa has started to take a step back was letting go of Ryan McDonough and sending him off to Nashville. That's when things really came apart. That was a real glue guy in the room, but on the ice, not only is he a shot block machine, but also Ryan McDonough, as someone told me, nobody gets back to position quicker than Ryan McDonough. He's always in position because when he's out of position, he gets back fast. He's that guy, and they brought him back, right? Once they realized that, you know what, Sergachev's not ready for that bump up and spot here on Tampa, maybe on another team, but not here. They brought Ryan McDonough back.
Yanni Gourde 1.0, Yanni Gourde 2.0.
Yanni Gourde's another one. Yeah. Like they're not it's a really smart, well-run organization. So not that you can completely, completely take a snapshot and say, here, this is the model. We're going to do this exactly, because there's different dynamics and different ownership and different personalities involved here. I think that you're looking at someone that has ridden shotgun next to a couple of managers, most specifically Julien Brisebois, and been able to study the model and understand the logic behind it. Like that's why I made the point about Florida. He understands the blueprint. Not that you can replicate it, but he understands it.
And Jeff, here's the thing about Darsh. Like, he could be a watershed GM for the NHL because, while you can sit there and say, yeah, he was an ex-NHL player, he got to the NHL out of U Sport. There's not many of those. He's got a degree in commerce with a minor in international business from McGill. So, and he worked for a big freighting company before even getting in to the National Hockey League. So this is a really smart cookie here who is elevated.
Based on what you just said, though, he might just think that I can go find those jewels in the rough and turn this team around on my own without having to tear it down a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I'll be curious to see who, and we'll see what happens with Brendan Shanahan in this situation, who Darsh brings in along with him. And you're going to have to start to go back and piece together his background and try to figure out, okay, who he played with or managed with, what are relationships with, like he played, once upon a time in the American Hockey League with Riley Armstrong, who's now the director of player development for the Philadelphia Flyers. Does that make some sense with Matthew Darsh? I don't know. He's always been considered an up-and-comer, either young manager or coach. So I don't know. Like that to me is going to be the curiosity. Is there going to be, a new group of scouts that come in, or a couple? I don't know. But now the curiosity begins. Okay, who comes along with Darsh, who, by the way, has been up for a number of these jobs before. Like, we wondered about Montreal, we wondered about Ottawa. Like this isn't the first go around for Matthew Darsh.
The new Vancouver franchise in the PWHL has a new general manager. What can you tell us about Kara Morey?
Coaching at Princeton, so she'd be familiar with, Sarah Fillier and Claire Thompson would be a couple of the obvious ones here. One of the interesting things in talking to a couple of people this morning, one of the curiosities, since she's been a coach for so long, and she was, she played as well, but since she's been a coach for so long, and sometimes coaches have a hard time letting go of the coaching part of their life when they take on a management role. One of the curiosities is, can she resist the temptation to behave as a coach while she's a manager? Natalie Darwitz in Minnesota kind of found herself in a tricky situation and kind of polarized the team, going back to like Utica camps when she was like on the ice, directing traffic with a lot of the athletes, which rubbed more than a few the wrong way. And I think that from what I'm told, she's smart enough to understand that distinction, but it's her first go around here as a manager of a team. Can she resist the temptation to allow the coach in herself to come out because she's been at it for so long?
All right. My Jeff Merrick Easter egg.
Okay. Is it about Radiohead? Because me and Blake like Radiohead. I don't know if you knew that.
It's not about Radiohead. It would never be about Radiohead.
Okay. All right, fine.
This week we commemorated the death of comedic actor George Wendt, of course known as Norm from Cheers, but also Bill Swirsky's super fans on
It's a dog-eat-dog world, and I'm wearing milk-bone underwear.
Yes.
And I was like, sadly, Norm caught me in bed with his wife.
Yeah. Vera. Remember we almost saw Vera that one time?
Almost. I get the pie in the face. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Ironically, George Wendt dies 32 years to the day of the Cheers finale. And I'm guessing everybody in the room watched the Cheers finale. And I say that because it is the number 2 rated television program series finale.
Non-sporting, yeah.
Of all time. Yes, non-sporting, of course. Of all time. Who are the rest of the top 5?
Okay, this number one's easy. It's a tap in.
Number one's MASH. I remember watching that episode with my late mother, who sat there sobbing because that was her favorite show of all time. And that closing scene with the it's just even
MASH did a Super Bowl audience. 105 million people watched the MASH finale. Like, that'd be a good number for the Super Bowl. Well, not a good number, but that'd be a reasonable Super Bowl number. Cheers is number 2. Give me the rest of the top 5.
Number 2. I'm going to throw a dart. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Nope.
Wow. Am I allowed to guess?
Yes, of course.
Seinfeld.
Seinfeld is number 4. Seinfeld's finale drew 76 million.
Are these all comedies or no?
One of them is a drama.
Dallas.
I would have thought Dallas too, but no. Who Shot JR was bigger than the actual Dallas finale.
Yeah. Oh, these are only finales. Okay.
These are only finales. MASH, Cheers, Seinfeld. You've got 2 more. One's a drama, one's a comedy.
One's a comedy. Boy,
Dynasty?
I'm so awful at this.
Not Dynasty.
Biggest.
Because the thing is,
Friends.
Yeah,
Very
Friends
good,
has
like,
to be up there. Yes,
Friends is number 5. And I think.
Hang on. Can I throw it? Is it Hill Street Blues?
No.
It's a good guess, though.
Very good guess. Very good guess. It's probably before all of our time.
Okay.
The Fugitive.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow.
Like, we think of it as a movie with Harrison Ford, but it was a massive, massive television series before it was.
Wouldn't get that.
Yeah. Here's the other crazy part. Friends did 52 million. Cheers did 80 million. Cheers did 30 million. I realize different television environments, but like it's not like cable cutting was a big thing.
No, not cable cutting,
but in 2004 when Friends went off the.
No, but it was a 20-channel universe versus a 1,000-channel universe.
Fair.
Okay, so here's the question: who did you like better, Coach Ernie Pantuso or Woody Harrelson?
I was slow to like Woody, but by the end, I liked Woody.
I'm with Blake on this one.
I was slow to like him, though, from the start.
Did you prefer
Ernie Pan? Oh, yeah, Coach.
Rebecca or Diane?
Diane all day.
Yeah.
Diane all day for me.
Yeah.
But that's the original, right? That's the original.
Yeah.
The thing about Ernie Pantuso, you remember his main claim to fame? He could get hit by any pitch. Go ahead. Throw the ball at me.
That's right.
Clonk. And all you hear from
a way to lean into
on
them.
my way to first. Could get hit by any pitch.
Beauty.
And he was there for May Day, the day he gave up those home runs to Boog Powell.
And if you'll recall, he was asked what his nickname was when he played baseball. And he said his nickname was Red. And someone said, is it because you had red hair? And he said, no, it's because I read a book. His nickname became Red.
Oh, that's so good.
Incidentally, Friends remains massive in syndication and dub titles. Like, there are teenage girls in Ulaanbaatar and Khartoum watching Friends as we speak.
All my kids can narrate it.
Rachel Green, love her hair.
Those are you just named 2 though of my least favorite shows ever. I can't stand Friends and I can't stand Seinfeld.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Can't stand.
Boy, you must have had a tough time in the 90s, Merrick.
No, you know what I was a big. You know what I was.
Seinfeld or Friends around the water cooler.
No, I know. You know what I was a big fan of, and still am to this day. Larry Sanders Show to me is the greatest TV show ever made.
So good.
Larry Sanders.
Have you seen the Shandling documentary?
No, I haven't, but I've heard it's fantastic.
Go watch it. Go watch it because it is the full story there, good, bad, and indifferent about Gary Shandling and his rise. Marvelous stuff. We got to run. Thank you.
Thanks, boys. Be good.
So, Harrison Price from the Historic Wall Center. This next segment brought to you by the Arnold Palmer Design Whistler Golf Club, now open for the 2025 season. Tee times can be booked online for any point this year. Lock them in. And if you're lucky, the Bears might tend the flag for you. It's Bear season.
To remind them to fix their spike marks.
Exactly. It's true, huh?
Yeah.
That's why I putt so poorly on the Whistler Golf Club greens. It's all the claw marks.
There's no clown. I don't understand how there isn't.
Honestly, I don't understand how they don't make bigger impressions.
No.
They're big, heavy animals.
Yeah.
Greens are immaculate at the Whistler Golf Club. If you have a group of 12 or more, ask for the Sekeres Price midweek special. That's right. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. If you can bring a group of 12 or more, our friend Al Chris Manson going to take good care of you. WhistlerGolf.com/groups. Follow on social at Whistler.
Remember we were
Golf.
teeing off and there was a bear sitting in the
Meadow?
In the meadow. And we're like, wow, that's really close. And it's a big bear. And Al was just like, he's so high on dandelions. He's not going anywhere. Mm-hmm. They get high on dandelions.
I told that story Tuesday, actually.
Did you?
Yeah. Anyways, it's the damnedest thing to see a bear high, roly-poly in the meadow.
Yeah.
Go check it out.
Like drunk as a skunk on dandelions. For God.
Oh, we saw this news earlier in the week, and we were so awfully sad. Not for Noah Strang, ex of the Daily Hive, but for our show. I mean, the guy was just a content machine.
Yeah.
We talked about it this week. I mean, outside of JPAD, I'm not sure there was a single person we relied on more with their updates, their tweets, their observations, their
If we paid
coverage of the
royalties, you'd
Vancouver
be a
Canucks.
rich man.
And
We
Noah
don't pay
Strang,
royalties.
I should have been charging for all those tweets.
Yeah.
you should have. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you guys both so much for having me on.
No, thank you for what was an amazing year of coverage for the Vancouver Canucks. Like, Noah, you got dropped into this job
Yeah. This is
for
baptism by
this
fire.
season, and this is the year you got, man.
Well, yeah, because I joined at the start of the 23-24 season, and I had a lot of the senior reporters come up to me throughout that year saying, this isn't typical. A lot of things are going right this year. It doesn't always go like this. And then
you're like, yeah, okay, I get it now.
Yeah. So I kind of got both ends of the stick there. But, really incredible experience both seasons. Very different, but both great in their own way.
How do you reflect back? What stands out, Noah?
A lot of very special experiences. I mean, the playoff run in 2024, I got to go down to Nashville and out to Edmonton for some of those games. Those were really incredible. I mean, the day-to-day, something that I really valued was there's a very strong group of reporters in Vancouver, but when I joined, they didn't make me feel like any lesser than. They were all very welcoming and everyone was very nice to me, and I really appreciated that. And I had a lot of fun going to the rink every day. And that was really
Outline for our viewers and listeners where you're headed right now. Why we're saying sort of a goodbye or see you later at the very
Why
least.
are you abandoning us? Is the
Yeah.
question.
Well, in the fall, I'll be going to do my master's in journalism at NYU. So, of course, that means that I couldn't stay on at Daily Hive. It was a very difficult decision. There's a lot of factors that went into it. I'd be lying if I said that the lack of Daily Hive practice facility wasn't one of them.
It's a great line. Very
Good.
Yeah. But I'm excited for the future, and we'll see what it holds. I'm not completely sure, but
The U.S. government is still allowing masters in journalism.
I was going to say.
yes, for now. Yeah. For now.
Good.
You're on some dicey terrain there, okay? Beware those ICE officials and the flights to Salvadorian prison camps.
Yeah, I'll
We'd
feel my
miss
best
you. We'd
for
really miss you in that context. What's your forecast here? What do you think of the Canucks going into the summer?
I think it's a very interesting summer for the Canucks. The Quinn Hughes question kind of looms over this organization, and it's hard to say it from someone that doesn't have all the inside information where his head's at. I hope that the management has a little bit better of an idea. And if this team is a playoff team next year, if they kind of look like a contender, does that make him want to stay? Or is it already a foregone conclusion that he's kind of got one foot on the way out? I don't know. I don't have that insight, but it makes it really difficult in terms of planning because obviously Hughes is such a special player. And if you can keep him around, then you really have to make a push for this next year, even though that may not be the best thing for the team's long-term outlook.
We've obviously been talking about the need for a second-line center. What is your confidence level given the lack of availability for like everybody wants a center right now? Do you think the Canucks, who have been a soap opera haven and did not make the playoffs, do you think they can reel in one of the few fish that are in the sea?
I mean, I think it'll be difficult on the free agency market, but I think the Canucks recognize that as well, which is why you already hear Jim Rutherford talking about making a trade. And I mean, obviously, if you make a trade for a player under contract, then the players don't have as much choice about where they're going. Doesn't matter their feelings on Vancouver. Of course, it's always hard to get a center. One of the most valuable positions is that top 6 center, and every team is looking for them, so it's not going to be cheap. But one thing the Canucks do have is they have quite a few defensemen, young defensemen. That's another position that's valued really highly around the league. So I think it's kind of looking like there'll be a swap there from a position of strength for the Canucks to address their center weakness. Just exactly what that looks like will be determined, obviously.
I saw you musing about Sam Bennett, Noah. What do you think there?
I mean, watching Sam Bennet's playoffs, like how can you not just daydream about him being on the Canucks? I think he would fit a lot of the needs that they have. He's obviously a really great player. He shows up when the money's on the line, and he also, I know his stats during the regular season haven't maybe been like the level of a star player, but maybe that helps in free agency. He doesn't end up getting if he was putting up 90 points in the regular season, his contract would be a lot higher. But he always seems to show up and be one of the best players when it matters most. I think obviously I am struggling to come up with reasons why he would want to come to Vancouver, but obviously there's a big one, and that's the money. And whatever team offers you the most money is definitely going to have an inside track. So the Canucks want to make a superhero offer there, then maybe that's enough to get over the line, but it's difficult to envision at this point.
You're struggling to come up with reasons why he'd come to Vancouver. As you're leaving Vancouver, Noah, you got agents out there, Strang doesn't want to be there. Answer me this, because you covered the 2 seasons, Noah, and you saw the best of Quinn Hughes. And really, outside of Henrik's Hart and Daniels, Lessard B. Pearson, now Ted Lindsay, I think you can argue you saw 2 of the best individual seasons, certainly the one, Norris Trophy, for any Canucks player ever. How do you reflect back on getting a chance to watch and cover Hughes?
Incredibly lucky. I mean, there's very few players across the NHL today that I think play on the level that he performs at on a nightly basis. And especially, the season 2 years ago when he won the Norris Trophy, that was amazing to watch. He was incredible. But it was almost a little bit more impressive this year with everything going on, how he would still continue to show up. I mean, I don't think the Canucks had a forward score over 50 points this year, and Hughes was still there. If he had played the full season, I think he would have been in the Norris conversation even more so than he was already. Even this year, I think for a lot of fans, the Canucks weren't a very fun watch at times, but the chance to see Quinn Hughes play means that you should be tuning in on a nightly basis. I mean, I hope he stays in Vancouver for a very, very long time. He's an excellent player and has an excellent work ethic. I could see it every day in practice. He works incredibly hard, and Canucks are lucky to have him.
Who do you think the Canucks have that has enough value to, if they're going to pull off a trade? Who do you think of value can get that trade accomplished?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're going after a top 6 center, you're going to have to give up something that hurts too, right? You can't package together like kind of 3 average prospects and hope that like in combination all adds up to a top 6 center. I mean, the ones that jump off the page is obviously Wielander. Seems to be a very strong prospect. I haven't watched a ton of him play, but from what I've heard talking to people seem to like him. He was an 11th overall selection. Looks to be future top 4 defenseman. Then also DPD is someone obviously the Canucks like a lot, and he's shown a lot. But, there's a lot of players that come in and play like DPD, and they never really amount to be the star that you're thinking. So I think for the Canucks to really get that top 6 center, you're probably looking at one of those 2 players plus, maybe this year's first-round pick and getting into it.
Do you have a place yet? Do you know where you're living?
No,
in the city?
No, it's a bit of a tricky thing to find, obviously.
The good news is it's no more expensive. No, like for most people, they go, "How are you going to afford New York? How are you going to afford New York?" Easily, it's the same as Vancouver, if not worse, or if not better. So
in Vancouver, I'm in a house. There's 4 guys, 4 of us in there, so it's a little bit of like a frat house vibe. And going to New York, gonna probably be living with like 3 or 4 guys, or at least a couple. So yeah.
Well, I looked up the campus today, so you're NoHo, but you're barely NoHo. It's near Bleecker Street.
Yeah.
Beware of those chess hustlers at Washington Square Park. That's where they play the speed chess, and they all try and take your money with the big fountain. In fact, I think it's the fountain from Friends. I'm not mistaken. Anyways, Noah, we have so loved your coverage here over the last couple of years. Many thanks for everything that you provided, jumping off points for this program. We wish all the best in New York City. You always got a home in Vancouver and on the show, my friend.
Thank you both so much. I really appreciate it. Really appreciate both you guys being such a great help over the past couple of years, and I'll stick in touch for sure. You'll see my stuff.
It was that Rob Williams guy. Yeah, Rob Williams guy, right? He ran you out.
You'll still be able to use my tweets next year. I'll get some JT Miller updates.
Please do, especially hey, when they go through New York, Rangers, Islanders, Devils. We need you to be active on the Twitter. Okay.
I'll try my best.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you both so much. Thank you.
So Harrison Price from the Historic Wall Center. If you're heading to a game in downtown Vancouver, make it a staycation. Book your stay here at the Wall. Call 604-331-1000. Tell them that we sent you. Some blackout dates apply based on availability. So Vancouver Whitecaps FC into Real Salt Lake tomorrow, Blake, to continue this incredible unbeaten streak that they've got going.
Yep.
Andres Kubis, who has been so good in the midfield for them this year, will miss this match, yellow card accumulation, so he's down. What else can you tell us about the lineup here?
I would suspect they go with as good and as A1 a lineup as they can, not taxing them too much, but I would suspect that everybody that they want to play in the CONCACAF Champions Cup final a week from now, or 9 days, won't play Wednesday. So like it'll be Whitecaps FC 2, I think, on Wednesday. So everybody that you want, seeing.
But that's a number 1 versus number 2 in the Western Conference versus Minnesota.
Yeah, but there's no trophy on the line. So there's a trophy on the line 3 days later, and you can't have a tax player.
You hear my mouth? Play the skinny lineup here today or tomorrow, and then go fuller on Wednesday. I mean, if you win that match, you're 6 up in the West.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I mean, depending on what happens here.
Yeah, the potential to be, yeah.
Unbeaten streak is 13, incidentally.
Yeah,
and 8 across MLS matches.
I think they would just be too worried about fatigue, especially, going the long travel down to Mexico. Like hey, 45 minutes on Wednesday, is it possible? Is it possible they come off the bench for 25? Yep, all that's possible.
So Kubis not playing tomorrow means Kubis has got to go both, right? Like full pull both Wednesday and next Sunday?
No, I would not dress Andres Kubis on Wednesday. No.
But he's not playing tomorrow.
Doesn't matter.
Oh, Blake. No.
Or off the bench.
Yeah, I don't want to go Denny Green on you here, but you play to win the game.
You play to win championships, and you want to make sure your guys are ready to win a championship on the weekend. It's the uncomfortable, intertwined nature of world soccer. We see this all the time in Europe too, right? You've got a low-level FA Cup game right before you've got a major game in the Premier League.
Hey, there's nothing low-level about the FA Cup. Ask those Crystal Palace folks and the way they partied at Wembley last Saturday.
But that's a great comparison. The Whitecaps are Crystal Palace in a lot of ways, right? And they've got a chance to win a trophy in 9 days' time, and you have to put everything you have into winning that trophy. The bad news / good news is there is progress on Ryan Gauld.
Oh.
What he can do without feeling pain has broadened.
Good.
But
he's still not out training with his teammates. He's still in the gym.
He's not playing 9 days from now. And who'd have thought we'd say that?
I know.
3 weeks ago. I thought he'd have 2 games under his belt by now.
Yeah.
The good news is he is returning to play eventually.
I mean, this sounds like a pretty significant injury then. And I know there was a setback, so
yeah,
that's too bad.
It's really too bad because I gave them every chance to actually look freaking good versus Cruz Azul if they've got Ryan Gauld.
I still think they will.
I still think they have a chance, but you drop that guy in who's not played in any of these important matches up until this point. I mean, what would that do for them, right? So,
Gauld on top form with the way the rest of this midfield and forward group is playing, that's scary good.
Yeah. So I hope that, even with no Kubas, I think they've got reasonable facsimiles now in Berhalter and Priso and stuff like that they can dress a good lineup tomorrow and try to look like themselves. Jesper Sorensen said last MLS game, even the Austin game, was their worst game of the season. And again, you get a point for that. So let's hope they look a little more like themselves. And I would suspect they've had a pretty good week of training here. And Laborda is not going to go tomorrow. I wouldn't suspect either. He was in the gym training with Ryan Gauld. So he's a guy that might get a longer look on Wednesday just so that he can get up to speed for the following weekend. He may not start the following weekend. But everybody else looking pretty ready to go.
Every time I think of Crystal Palace, I think of Dire Straits, Sultans of Swing.
Yeah, what's the connection there?
Well, as the legend goes, Mark Knopfler walked into a kind of grimy old tavern in London and saw some amateur musicians on stage, and the lead singer was calling them the Sultans of Swing. And, way on down south, London town.
Okay.
Thank you, Mike. Mike is
nodding.
Greatest
Approval.
guitar solo ever.
If you want to look at what for me is the single best live performance I've ever seen in rock, Google Dire Straits Alchemy and the Sultans of Swing with the guitars. Well, everybody's solo in that because it goes on for, I think it's 20 minutes they play the one song. Anyways, Guitar George, he's got all those fancy chords. He's got a daytime job.
We go from
doing all right.
Whitecaps to Dire Straits.
Sorry,
effortlessly.
Thank you. That's how this show rolls. Yeah. Sebastian Berhalter was called up to the U.S. men's national team training camp. Of course, his father, Greg, at one point coached this team and got a lot of criticism, although Greg's tenure is looking better and better the more this program goes forward.
Oh, my God. It's a bleep show.
Berhalter, how about this? He said to Har yesterday from the Daily Hive, the proudest moment of his life. So happy for this young guy. We had him on the show a couple of weeks ago.
I'm also happy for how it went down.
We thought he was a rotational MLS player,
Yeah.
and my God, has he been something for them this year.
The story goes, per Har and others, is Toss Ricketts was delivering the news for all these call-ups to the players.
Oh, great.
And Toss came down with a wry grin on his face and started walking towards Seb. And Seb was like, "What's up?" And Toss just kept smiling at him. And Seb said he got the feeling in his stomach, and he was just like,
that's
is
great.
this what I think it is?" And
That's fantastic.
he found out the news. So.
Oh, good. And then there's Tristan Blackman, who did not get called to the U.S. men's national team, opening the door to make him Canadian. He spoke to Har about this from the Daily Hive yesterday after training. Quote, "There's a potential opportunity for this to possibly take place in the future. I can't see in the future. I don't have a crystal ball. Nobody does. We'll see what happens." He continued, "I think growing up, everybody thinks about playing for their country. There's an opportunity that may take place where I could potentially play for Canada." So he seems amenable to it.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you bring in as many guys into the offing as you possibly can because you never know about injuries and you just want to be able to pick from the biggest talent pool that you possibly can. So it's and really at Tristan's age, if he's not playing in this World Cup for the States, is he playing in another one? No, he's 28. So he's not playing. He's either playing at 29 for Canada or he's playing at 33 for the United States. No,
I don't think so. No. Whitecaps headed to Mexico, of course, to play in the 2025 CONCACAF Champions Cup final Sunday, June 1st against Cruz Azul. This is the first time in club history the Whitecaps have ever reached this final. It's only the third time a Canadian team has reached this final. And how about this? You want to go? Get yourself to whitecapsfc.com/final. Enter for a chance to win 2 tickets, 2 flights, 2 nights at the hotel, and 2 jerseys. That would be an amazing experience. Vancouver Canadians lose a franchise-worst 7th straight ball game last night in Eugene. But the story here is Arjun Nimmala, the Blue Jays' #1 prospect, the Vancouver Canadians shortstop, who is having him a week. He is 6 for 12 with a double, a triple, 2 home runs, 3 runs scored, 5 RBI. This is in 3 games. He missed the cycle just barely the other day. His OPS is now up to 927, and he hit his 9th home run last night which puts him back into a tie for the Northwest League lead. He is 19 years old. He is very young for this level. In fact, I can tell you how young he is for this level because, high A baseball now, he is more than 3 years younger than the average player at this level.
Yeah.
And it has our friend Keegan Matheson of Blue Jays, the MLB.com reporter for the Blue Jays, reconsidering what he told this program 5-6 weeks ago. You remember Keegan said, and the best part for you guys in Vancouver is that Namal is probably going to be there all year. I mean, 19-year-olds in AA, you don't see that a whole lot. Well, Keegan tweeted last night, the breakout is real. They'll give him some run in high A, but he's got a real shot at AA later this summer. Wow.
To have the poise at that young age to be playing at this level already, it's crazy. And
like halfway, the opposite end of the continent. We had him on the show last. Opposite end of the continent. He's got such seemingly a great head on his shoulders.
I asked him about the better pitching that he might be facing at this level. He's like, yeah, just throwing us baseball.
It's just pitching.
Just pitching.
And he didn't say it in a cocky way either. It was just like, see ball, hit ball.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it felt like.
The simplicity of it.
Yeah.
Anyway, Seas need a win here. Need to sweep the weekend to get a split in this series. Back here at the Nat on Tuesday, South Asian Heritage Night, post-game fireworks. Next
Canadians
Friday, you got the nooner.
Fireworks, giveaways, and Friday.
And tickets, 604-872-5232 or CanadiansBaseball.com. He steps on me enough, Mike. Poll question results. You have all the bleed now. Poll question results. Bogey Juice poll question results. Boy, it's a Friday in there, huh? Has he got into the Yellow Dog early?
Might be.
If the Canucks need to trade a roster defenseman for a top two center, who should it be? We gave them Philip Hronek, Marcus Pettersson, Elias Pettersson, and none of the above. Blake, who won the poll?
None of the above.
Hronek.
Hronek?
40%.
Really?
This is gaining steam. We talked about it earlier in the show. None of the above got 31%. 17% voted for Marcus. Just 12% for Elias. Graham, it won't be Hronek because got to cater to Quinn, apparently. Yeah. Of course, they didn't play as a cemented pair last year. They played a lot together, but towards the end of the year, he anchored his own pair. David, the only one of these players who perhaps could yield such a return would be Hronek. They would have to add if it's one of the Petterssons. Yep, I think that's fair. And Matt says they'll likely get more value from Wielander or DPD as they are on entry-level deals. It depends on the team. Yep, that could be the case as well, right? You'll have some teams that are out there looking for younger, cheaper defensemen as opposed to guys making big tickets, even if the tickets for Pettersson and particularly Hronek, I think, are quite digestible.
Yeah, if people's theory is that that Hronek gets the biggest fish, the legit fish, I get why people are voting in that regard, but they just constructed this defense corps. Like they just did this.
Errors and omissions from yesterday's program. Mm-hmm. X had a really terrible day yesterday. You may have noticed as you were on your timeline and an account, but for whatever reason, we couldn't publish live to X yesterday, so I apologize if you're typically consume the show on that platform. Yerke has corrected me. I said some Whitecaps had full rest in the Canadian Championship game. I missed Veselinovich. He did play as well. I'll tell you, one of the stat sheets there was completely out of whack because I missed two players who were showing with 0 minutes played.
Yeah, most didn't start, but a bunch of them came in.
Yeah, but then they played some minutes. It wasn't 0.
Yep.
And this is more omission than error, but it's 29 straight penalty kills for the Abbotsford Canucks. In the postseason, it's 33 when you go back to the regular season. They do not give up power play goals. Manny Malhotra was a superb penalty killer in his day, and he has passed that along to his young charges down there in Abbey. Anything to self-report, anything from the inbox?
No to both.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. Appreciate you spending some time connecting with the program. Please do subscribe to all our assorted channels, YouTube, wherever you get your podcast. Follow on social. That's X, Insta, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Blue Sky, live on many of those platforms, noon Pacific time weekdays. And, of course, support the community sponsors you hear us talking about. And keep it local.